Final Four teams, both teams recognized pregame in person. Coach Ryan at halftime. There will be a banner unveiling as well. And if there wasn't enough, a stripe out as well. So we'd appreciate your messaging and our stripe out. I'll turn it over to Coach though, and he'll have some opening comments and open up for questions.
Thanks, Brandon. Yeah, obviously a lot going on Friday, and obviously a big weekend on campus too with Saturday night's football game. But you know, we're coming off the week we had. I thought we got better as the week progressed. Still not where we need to be or will be, but now we've got a tremendous test coming at us on Friday. You know, an extremely big team, an experienced team. Obviously, Caleb Love back at one of the guard positions. So just watching them, you know, a little bit I've watched so far in film with a couple of their early games. Put a lot of pressure on the rim. Makes tremendous size, deep. Obviously, a really, really good team. So we'll use these 3 days here, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, to prep for Friday night. But excited to have. Haven't seen the final list of who's coming back from those two teams. Obviously, they were primarily the same guys on both teams, but and then to have an opportunity to recognize Coach Ryan and you know, put his name in the rafters where it belongs. So I think it's a good opportunity for our guys, and we'll see as we go through the week. Preparation for Arizona will unfold. So, questions?
Greg, it's been a while since you had 3 games in the first week of the season. Usually you have about 2. But one, I guess I was wondering how you liked having so many games early during that first week, and you kind of touched on the defense and how you liked how that was coming along. What other parts, have you excited just based off what you've seen in week 1?
Well, I think I think when you put together a schedule, there's different philosophies that you play a lot of games early before you get to your MTE. Obviously, you have some of the standard, like this game coming on Friday has been set for a couple of years, so you have some standard dates, some yearly competitions that always fall in the same time frame. So you mix. There's different philosophies. We chose to play 3 early. I think having a lot of new guys on your team helps that, or that's a benefit for that, to be able to get some games under your belt, so to speak, with these new guys, and specifically, obviously, the transfers, to be able to see where they're at. I think the growth we saw in Xavier Amos just on Sunday alone was really positive. And it's even the returners are in a different role. Klesman's in a little different role. Winter's in a different role. So McGee's in a different role, so to speak, in his same position coming off the bench, but I think his impact is greater. So anytime you get a chance to play outside competition, I think you take something from it and you learn from it. Defensively, I think we have gotten better. There's still some things going through the film Sunday night and yesterday that we have to improve upon. But I think we've taken a step in development-wise in a good direction. So now we continue that through this week and like I said, be tested really well on Friday night.
Hey Greg, obviously a little bit of familiarity in playing Tennessee last year with Owaka. Just what does he add in terms of physicality and some of their post presence right now?
Yeah, he's a monster on the glass. They in general, just how they pound the paint, pound the rim. Offensive rebounding, that's the thing that I think has jumped out so far. I think in their last game they had 24 offensive rebounds, so they now there's been a tremendous size advantage they've had too, but just their relentlessness to the rim and relentlessness to the glass with Owaka and with Krivas and with Visor, I think the kid from Estonia. So they've, like I said, the physicality that Owaka brings is noticeable. But they, in general, you can tell that's the intent is to really try to pound the paint.
Michael?
You alluded to, obviously, the returners being in different roles. With John's processing and trying to create for others, I guess, how is that kind of, have you seen any improvements in that in the first week?
Yeah, I think, again, I go back to a lot of guys have the ball in their hands. So I need a lot of guys to be able to make good decisions and create for others. Make the best decision in that possession that helps our team. So I think John is getting more comfortable with it. And we'll continue to help him grow in that. But there's a lot of times he's playing without the ball in his hands. If Max brings it up, or Cam brings it up, or Tanjay has handled it in transition. So I'm not nearly as set on making sure that the point guard has it per se. In transition, it's fill the wings, and usually there's always 3 ball handlers on the floor. Whoever has it, be responsible with your decision making.
Zach, in the back.
Greg,
Yeah.
with those Final Four teams coming back, what do you remember about those runs in the NCAA tournament, specifically those 2 games against Arizona?
Yeah, they were, obviously each year was different. I think obviously the 14 year we got hot during the tournament, had the game in Milwaukee against Oregon that was really, I think, gave us a shot in the arm from a confidence standpoint. And obviously the first Arizona game, and then overtime, they missed a shot at the buzzer. I think the second year it was expected, just the team and the confidence they had. Obviously you have all those guys back, and that was, I think, their intent. We didn't talk about it as a staff much about that was the goal, but when you have a player-led team like that has so many seniors and so many good players on it, they drove the ship themselves, so to speak. I think just the difference was, we were kind of the surprise team the first year. Second year, it was an expected goal.
Andrew Lee, in the back.
You keep talking about the size and the physicality. How do you plan for that matchup, and what areas do you think that you'll be able to exploit that with the lack of size, if that's possible for you?
Well, I don't think we have a lack of size. I think we'll put 2 7-footers out there too. I mean, it's going to be, we've seen a little bit of size, but we haven't seen that consistently across the board in the first 3 games like we'll see. So it's going to be somewhat like, in some ways playing against ourselves in practice, just because we have Greppy playing on the scout team at 6'11", Hodges plays on it at 6'9". So the scout team will be able to hopefully give us a good look in terms of what they try to do through these 3 days, and but obviously they pass it well. It's the guards too. It's Love, Bradley, and Lewis that are explosive in transition. And the bigs find each other really well. They pass it really well. Vesor, I think that's how you say his name, the kid from Estonia, shoots 3s in transition. So, it'll be, like I said, the first time we've seen with this group that much size across the board. And it's going to be a good test for us. Like I said, that's why you play these games. You want to play against some of the best in the country, and this is the first of many that we'll have throughout the year.
Ben, on the left.
This might be a fair question for Mark, but in terms of the scheduling this series, I know you played them last year a little bit later after your 2 Big Ten games. This year it's earlier. Is that just kind of how it fit, or did you want to play this game a little bit earlier in your schedule this year?
Yeah, it's kind of how it fit. We knew we also wanted to honor these 2 teams at some point, and obviously the earlier we can have it, the better, just because a lot of these guys, if they aren't playing already, they won't all be back. Some of them are already playing overseas, and then to be able to do it before Coach Ryan goes south for the winter. I think there was many reasons behind it, trying to get it as early as possible, and then also have it on a weekend. I guess we call Friday night a weekend. So packaging that all together with Saturday's events, and like I said, honoring those teams for the weekend. It wasn't one specific factor, Ben, that made this decision. All those things coming together said, let's play it early as possible.
So him getting into the Naismith was just kind of a cherry on top?
It was anticipated when we were doing this, that we were hopeful we were able to celebrate that at the same time. It's always nice when a plan comes together, right?
Rohan, on the right.
Coach, the first 4 minutes of the game, that's kind of been the part where you guys have started a little slower. How important are those first 4 minutes specifically when it comes to a team like Arizona?
Really important, because they've started their first 2 games 13-0. So, yeah, we have to come out both ends of the floor. I think we went the first 4 possessions without scoring. We had 6 on our first 12 Sunday. So, and there were some defensive things too. So coming out of the gate from the beginning and making sure we don't hand them low-hanging fruit, so to speak, too. They've been able to take advantage of teams' turnovers, bad shots, those type of things, and converted pretty quickly on the other end. So regardless, whether you're playing Arizona or you name it, starting fast is, you always want to start fast.
Michael?
This game last year was one of Nolan's first welcome to college basketball moments.
Mhm.
Obviously, the guy that he was facing up against is now in the Big Ten, but I guess like how much with the ability that he's been able to rebound and defend in the first couple of games, like what are you kind of looking for from him in that matchup, and you know what improvements are you hoping to see in just going up against size?
Yeah, well, he's another year older, another year more mature, another year of more experience. So you parlay all those things into playing better and more consistent. So this will be a great challenge for him. I actually watched Krivas this summer when I was in Poland. He was with the Lithuanian national team, and he played really well with them. I saw the other guard too that plays for Spain. I think Martinez might be his name, but 55 is the number. But so it's going to be a good challenge for Nolan, whether it's Krivas, whether it's Awaka. How do you say his last name? Awaka. Fasor, the kid from Estonia. So he's going to have some like-sized matchups, and will be a great challenge for him. I know he's looking forward to it. As a player, you always want to play against the best, and for him to have those type of, not that it's a Nolan winner versus set opponent matchup, but you want to challenge yourself and see how far he's come. I think there's been tremendous strides made with him in his game, and now it's another chance to test that out.
Kendrick?
You said after the game on Sunday that you thought you saw on the defensive end things really starting to come together. Going back and reviewing that game, what did you see that you liked on that end?
I thought we were more aggressive with ball screens, keeping the ball out of the paint, but not as good as I thought after watching the film. So there's some things we have to get better at, and be more consistent at. We were good at parts of the game, and then there was some slippage. Then we got better at it, and then there was some slippage. So just consistently being, specifically, stopping the ball, not letting it in the paint. And that'll be, like I said, that'll be challenging Friday night with those 3 guards and the pressure that the bigs put on the rim.
Greg, not only is your scoring so far been pretty balanced, but from a shot standpoint, there's not a lot of difference between the top 5 guys. So I guess I'm wondering, is that sort of what, one, obviously speak to kind of the benefit of that, and is this kind of what you envisioned, or has that just kind of been a surprising plus so far?
No, I think we have a lot of versatility, and I've talked about that before. I've talked about that defensively. We have some versatility because we have a lot of switchable guys. We have some length specifically across the wing, which you always want to be a little bigger there. But I think the offense lends to that. I think that speaks to the unselfishness of the team. That you're finding the best shot for your team each time down, and then guys have taken advantage of that. So you'd like to be not dependent specifically on 1 or 2 guys and have some balance across the board. It makes you harder to play against. I think it's more sustainable across the course of the season. And there's more guys I'd like to continue to have contribute even more from an offensive standpoint, and I think they will as they get more comfortable in their role. But having balance is good. I'd like to have multiple scorers on the floor, and I think having 4s that shoot it now really helps us. It changes us from an offensive standpoint. We can stretch the floor a little bit more and take away some of the help. We have to do it more yet. We have to unclog the lane even more than what we have already.
Rohan?
Coach, from a scoring standpoint, John Tandre leads you guys 17.7 points. He shot it really efficiently. Kind of, especially with what he went through last year, obviously he scored a lot at Colorado State. Did you envision he could come in and be your leading scorer through the first week?
I never put it on somebody to be a leading scorer. I just come in and be the best version of yourself and play unselfishly. And I think we knew it'd be a really good fit. I felt just because I knew he got coached really well at Colorado State by Nico Medved, and his skill set fit what we needed. You know, he's smart, he's strong. Obviously, he can shoot it. He's pretty skilled. But I think the biggest thing that jumps out to not only me but our staff is just the maturity, and that's the benefit. I've talked about that before. The advantage of players through the portal that have had experience at other places. The number one thing that rises to the top when you evaluate is just maturity, and that comes from just having a lot of experience. There's not a lot that John hasn't seen. I think you see that some with Xavier. You see that some with Cam Hunter. It's just the advantage that players coming out of the portal have. And why would they not? They should be more experienced, right? They should be more mature. They've been to college classes. They've transitioned away from home. They understand what it's like to play in college, and that it's a big step up from high school, regardless of where you come from or where you're going to. So that's if I could put it all in one word, it's the maturity that you watch older players bring to the table that gives them maybe a leg up on younger players and freshmen, quite frankly.
Michael?
Part of the reason you're able to add these transfers is because you got guys going from scholarship to walk-on status, creating some flexibility. I guess, like, is that something that you ever had to do pre-transfer portal era, have that conversation with guys and make that decision?
Yeah, I mean, there's if you come in on scholarship, you can't bounce back and forth, but if you don't, you have the flexibility to do that. So that's something we talk about, that there's going to be, and that's even in the recruiting process of specific preferred walk-ons, that there's the flexibility that you could be on scholarship. There could be years you're not on scholarship. I think obviously this changes as we go forward with the roster limitations and revenue sharing and how we exactly formulate a roster and put that together. I think you're probably not as gracious with those type of opportunities, just because you are capped on how many you can have on the roster, and then obviously what you do with your scholarships is going to impact your cap number too. So that's, as we go forward starting next year, those will come more into play, but the flexibility has been good to have.
Rohan, quick. Keep passing Rohan, sorry.
Coach, last year your offense was one of the most efficient you guys have kind of had here during your tenure. This year you guys have the pieces, the shooting, the ability to drive, the ability to hit free throws. Was over the last 2 years, was there, from a coaching perspective, a change that you guys kind of had approaching the season and to try and create a more efficient offense, or was it just the players that kind of helped?
Well, it's both. I mean, you're naive if you think good offense doesn't result from good players, right? But you also have to have a system in place and the players in place to execute the system and thrive in the system. And it's all been intentional. I think probably this year even more than last year, just because of how we recruited specifically perimeter shooting fours and scoring wings and Tanjay. So, scoring is up in college basketball. I mean, we've heard that coming for many years. But if you look across the country, just give you a small snapshot from last Monday night, the opening night. I had our people upstairs do all the research of every Division I game, and the average winning score was 89.4. Now there were some lopsided, 113 and some 65 to whatever, but by and large, I mean, you look across college basketball, you have to score, and it doesn't take the importance of defense away. You still have to defend, but understand players are more skilled. They're more diverse in what they can do. The game is being officiated to increase scoring in terms of less charges, more blocks, more free throws. I think schematically, programs have adjusted and have added some of the things that we've added to their game plan to try to increase scoring. And Arizona is a good example of that. I think Tommy's, he's always been on the cutting edge of that. He was that when he was at Gonzaga with Mark. And they're one of the first ones to utilize some of the European ball screen motion stuff that we put into place. And, it goes back to David Blatt that Kirk played for. that Tommy worked with. So there's some commonalities in terms of where some, at least from our standpoint, and somewhat with Arizona, how we've adapted and adjusted and morphed, so to speak, with not sacrificing what your core values are as a program, but you have to score in today's world if you want to play at a really high level. And we got a lot of work to do defensively yet, but I like where this has gone, and I like how we're improving and getting more instinctive with the reads within it. I think our players like it. They like, the ability to play, obviously, in transition when we can get it. They understand the difference between good threes and threes. There's a difference, and the impact of playing at the rim, free throw line, and then trying to minimize the in-between stuff that's low percentage. So that's not rocket science stuff here. We're not diagramming, taking that harder part that's over there on the board. But I think just having the shift that we've been able to make is we've seen the benefits in just a short amount of time. We haven't been at this in terms of this shift for very long, but I think we've already seen the benefits of it from a scoring standpoint.
Thanks, Coach.
All right.
Thank you.